it's Katie, here to talk to you about my awesome life with vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 4. This past week was Invisible Disabilities Week, and invisible illnesses are very much of a struggle for people with Ehlers-Danlos. Um, they are very invisible unless you have like knee braces on or neck brace or, you know, something because you dislocated something. For vascular Ehlers-Danlos, it's, I feel like, even more invisible, um, even though they're all invisible, really. But, we don't suffer, type 4s don't suffer as much from dislocations as much as we do from, like, spontaneous artery dissections and ruptures and things. So, and unless, like, how do you know that somebody has a dissected artery? So, speaking of dissected arteries, some of you know that I was in the ER last weekend, and I didn't really do a video about that. I did a video in the ER and then decided not to post it because I felt like it was embarrassing. But I was very upset last weekend. So last weekend, a little bit of a backstory, I had some more severe pain than what has been normal lately for my neck. And usually every day I'm living somewhere between like a 1 and a 3 now. Some days reach up to like a 4 on the pain scale. But most days it's somewhere between a 1 and a 3, and it'll fluctuate throughout the day, and I can't seem to get it all the way gone, but it's better than it used to be. So it got a lot worse though. And I waited a couple days before calling my doctor. I tried muscle relaxers and anti-inflammatories, and nothing seemed to make it better, and it had like come on kind of suddenly. So I called my doctor and I talked to her about it, and she sent me to the ER. And this is my vascular surgeon, who is a specialist in vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I was sure it was nothing, but we both wanted to make sure it wasn't an artery causing the problem. So she sent me to the ER for either an MRA or a CTA, and I went. And this is not how I wanted to spend my Saturday morning, but I brought a sketchbook. Some of you saw Willis, and I have more of him to come, hopefully, as soon as I get the motivation to do it again. So I'm in the ER, and I finally see the doctor. And as soon as he came in, like, this is a perfect example of invisible disabilities struggles. So I told him about, like, I had told the nurses and everything about what I had. Like, everybody asks you why you're there, and you're like a broken record, and you're going to tell them why you're there again. And I knew that, like, I just needed a scan. And the answer to the scan is whether or not I have something else with my arteries. He comes in, and he immediately starts treating me like a hypochondriac. I was amazed. He was like, I've never seen this guy in my life, ever. I've never seen this doctor. And he must have seen that I was in the ER and assumed, like previously this year, and assumed that they were all for pain and that I was just like trying to find an answer to my pain. And at this point, I've given up on trying to find an answer for my neck pain, and I just do exercises, and I have a pseudoaneurysm, so I know that some of that pain last year was caused by a dissection, but that's it, like now it's muscle, and like that's okay. I'm fine with knowing that. I've accepted it's not going to change anytime soon, probably. But when it becomes more severe, I have to take my pain seriously because it could always be a dissection, especially when it comes on more suddenly and there's no good cause for it, or minimal. There's a minimal cause, like maybe I was pressing on it too hard. Anyway, he started treating me like a hypochondriac immediately, and my friend was there in the ER, and he witnessed the whole thing. But he came in, and he's like, I don't know how to help you because you're so young, and I feel like you're just going to keep coming to the ER, and you're not going to get any answers. And it's like, well, my doctor sent me here. Like, I just need a scan. Like, I'm not here for a whole lot of complicated answers. Just need a scan. And I tried to explain about type 4, and he's like, well, I mean, Ehlers-Danlos, I mean, there's so many types, and like type 4, type 3, type 2, like what's really the difference? I was like, there's a big difference. There's a huge difference. Like, type 4 means that I might dissect an artery more easily. Like, spontaneously. Like, for all we know, I did it in my sleep in 2016. I was sleeping and I dissected an artery, and now I have a pseudoaneurysm. Super exciting stuff, you know? Like, this is serious. And I was shocked. He's like, well, I mean, wouldn't you agree that a type 1 can also dissect an artery? Yeah, they can, but it's not like as common. It's not like they're sleeping and they did it. I was just like, this guy. I'm like, well, my doctor sent me here, and if you want to talk to her, he's like, no, I don't want to talk to her. So I texted my doctor and told her what was going on, and she ended up calling him, and I think he probably got chewed out. And I got the CTA and everything that I needed, and it took a while, but, you know, and the nurses, like, were just, that was a whole nother shenanigans. Like, I didn't even know who my nurse was or anything. Like, they never updated my board, and when I tried to call the nurse's line after 6 hours of being there because I was hungry, I got yelled at over the intercom, and they're like, well, if you're hungry, you just need to tell your nurse. And I'm like, I thought this was the nurse's line. And they never answered. So I was like, I was an emotional mess on Saturday when I left the ER because it's like, I didn't do anything to deserve to be treated like crap. I did what my doctor recommended that I do. I didn't like pull a muscle and be like, oh my God, I gotta go to the ER right now. I like thought maybe I pulled a muscle and I wasn't sure, and it just kept getting worse, and it was a couple days of it, and I tried other options before calling my doctor. So if anything, I hate being treated like a hypochondriac, and I thought that when I got this diagnosis that it would be a little bit different. But it's not. If anything, they just miss you even more because they don't want to hear about your condition. They don't want to be educated. They think that they know everything, and it's like, you don't. Nobody knows everything. There are so many rare medical conditions out there. How could you know them all? And if you're not even open to receiving information about something that as deadly as vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, what are you doing in the ER? That's how I feel about it. So that was my story about Invisible Disabilities Week. It's kind of just lined up with Invisible Disabilities Week. So yeah, I took in a video in the ER, like bawling, and then I didn't post it because I was like, but the good news is I don't have another dissection. I still only have the one pseudoaneurysm in my left internal carotid, so that was good news, and that means I know that I can stretch it because the treatments for, dissections versus pulled muscles and things are very, very different. Obviously, like when you have a dissection in your neck, you're not supposed to, stretch it or move it, really. You're supposed to just let it heal, because if you stretch it, it keeps. And if you have a pulled muscle, you're supposed to be stretching it, like, give it rest and heat and ice and all of the good things, and you stretch it, and hopefully it'll eventually get better, and you do exercises, but it's completely opposite treatment than a dissection, which is why I was in so much pain for so long before, because we were treating a dissection as a muscle, and it just kept making it worse. So, anyway, that's my rant. That's my Sunday rant. Thank you guys for listening. Subscribe if you want to hear more about vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and patient perspective on how awesome it is. So, Halloween's coming up. That's it. Okay. Bye.